TTJ Tech.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the TTJ Tech Show, coming to you from
TTJ Tech.
Don't forget to visit our website at www.ttjtech.net. You always know what's going on with us. Well, here we are, guys. I'm very excited about this. You won't believe what I did. Or maybe you will. Here's a hint. It's got to do with the iPad. Now you probably know what it is. Let's get it going, folks. You want to get excited with me? I know you do. I know it. You can't see it, but I'm doing air guitar. I don't even know how to do air guitar. I could have told you I was really playing, couldn't I? All right, guys, let's get it underway. Hey, first of all, if you would, because this is so important, joining us on YouTube, of course, here, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Please leave a like for this video. Subscribe to our channel if you've not already done so. And don't forget, of course, to hit that notification bell. That way you'll never miss a thing when we upload. And we've got lots coming. First of all, in some of our TTJ Tech Show episodes coming up, a review of our smart home. Because we've got lots and lots in our smart home. Praise God, we're very excited about it. Although I will say there's still more we're going to do. But that's not a discontentment in any way. I love it where it is now. It's just there's some even a couple more things that I'm going to add, and we will certainly share those when that time comes. One in particular that I can think of right now. But we've already got a really, really awesome smart home setup. Very automated. Very Wi-Fi-ish. Is that a word? Wi-Fi-ish? That should be a word. I need to, submit that to the dictionary people. Wi-Fi-ish. I think that's great. I think that's just fantastic. Okay, but seriously, very connected. That'd be the better way to say that. Very connected. There we go. Very, very connected. That's a better terminology, isn't it? A lot better than Wi-Fi-ish. Okay, very, very, very connected, and I think it, thank you. I think that, that you will really enjoy that video. We've also got one coming up about what's on my devices. That's a popular trend, and we're going to do our own iPad, iPhone, Apple TV, those kinds of things, let you know what apps we use. We've got some Google-related videos, and of course, lots and lots more. In addition to that, because, it is springtime, praise God. Well, spring's a few days away, but we're already getting the beautiful spring weather. It's time for lemonade, sitting outside, and all those wonderful things, and we are doing it. But I've also got some videos to share with you. 2 book discussions are about to happen, and prior to those book discussions, here yet in March, we're going to release 2 introductory videos on the TTJ Science Show, one about the Titanic, and one about Apollo 13, the very famous mission to the moon, where the crew was almost killed when an oxygen tank exploded about 250,000 miles away from home. Now, we are going to be doing a book study of both Apollo 13 by Jim Lovell and Jeffrey Kluger, and also a Titanic book that I have written called Titanic, the Most Complete Story Ever Told. And what we'd love to do is give you an introduction within the next week or two of both of those topics, Apollo 13 and the Titanic, and then encourage you to read those books. And then we'll be having our virtual book discussions in Zoom in April, but we'll also post them to YouTube. So how are you going to know when these introduction videos are coming out? Again, of course, you're going to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our introductory announcements. Let's get the ball rolling. Grab your drink and your snack. We got lots and lots to share with you. I can't understand what noise I'm making at what frequency specifically to trigger our Furbo dog cam. For some reason, it thought the dog was barking, and she definitely wasn't. It was me. That's another device that we're going to share about, though, in the coming weeks and videos and so forth. All right, guys, I got to tell you my iPad story. I love the iPad Pro. I think it's the most incredible device. It is wonderful. And as far as technology goes, it is the best out there. Apple packed everything they possibly could in 2021 into their iPad Pro. And it's a great device. I had occasion, though, a few months ago to start using an iPad 8th generation, 10.2 inch. And what I found is that I actually prefer that device. I actually prefer that form factor. I like its size. It's more personal. It feels more I don't know. Interactive is maybe not the right word, but it's almost, I mean, it's just an endearing device. It's not too small. It's just right. And I also, I like the accessories that you can use with it. I like all of these types of things, and I really, really enjoy that iPad. But yet it has all the power I need for everything I do. So I got myself a 9th generation iPad, and we reviewed it. We talked about it. The major differences between the 8th and the 9th are that the 9th has True Tone in its display, the feature that allows the color temperature to adapt to the current lighting conditions around you. It has more storage. I went from 128 to 256 gigabytes in the Wi-Fi Plus cellular model. And of course, it's got that beautiful 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera with 122 degree field of view and center stage, my friends. Very, very important feature that keeps you and whoever's with you in the videos, even if you move a little. And so it's great in FaceTime and Zoom and other things of that nature. So I love my 9th generation iPad with its accessories also, the smart keyboard, which I really love. Apple's smart keyboard for that model, the way that it's designed. I love the smart covers also. I have a black leather one and a beautiful electric orange one. And then I have, of course, the first generation Apple Pencil. I also have, not some adapters and stuff, but I also have the leather sleeve from what was really the 2017 iPad Pro. You can't buy these new from Apple anymore. You may be able to find them on Amazon. I shared with you that before. I've got a red one and a taupe one. So really, really nice devices. But I'm adding to it. And I'm either going to, I don't know. This will be 3 iPads. I don't know. By the way, my son is using my iPad Pro and loves it. So that's where that one's going. He's going to keep that one. But let me tell you what I purchased. If you haven't already guessed by now, the brand new 5th generation iPad Air. Now, why did I do this? Well, I think it's just right on the mark. I think it's like all the power of the Pro, but with some extra cool things like the colors and a little bit of a better size for my personal liking and a little lower price. I just really like the whole idea behind it. And so I just wanted to get my hands on one. Now, let's talk about this. I got it spec'd out, which is 256 gigabytes Wi-Fi plus cellular. There are 5 colors available. You've got Space Gray, Starlight, which is a combination, I'm told, of silver and rose gold. You've got pink, purple, and a brand new blue color that they're saying is just insane how awesome it is. That's the one I got, blue. And I got what I think is the matching Smart Folio, though they say it's a bit different, but it very well complements it. It's called Marine Blue. Now, we'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's talk about the iPad first. Let's start with the display, because it's a 10.9-inch liquid retina display. So again, a little bit smaller, lighter, and this is what I'm looking for instead of the iPad Pro. My iPad 9th generation is 1.09 pounds, I believe, and this thing is, I think, going to be 1.02 or 1.03 somewhere, or 1.0, somewhere around there. So it should be even lighter. Nice small form factor, but yet nice, large, gorgeous display, kind of an all-screen design, liquid retina. It is going to have True Tone like the 9th generation, but it gets some other added things as well. P3 wide color. It gets the fully laminated experience with the anti-reflective coating. Anti-reflective coating means it's going to work well in direct sun, and the full lamination. Again, I go back to the reviewers really say, unless you're holding 2 iPads side by side, you're not even going to notice the difference. But what the difference is that you don't see an air gap. So, for example, if you're drawing with the Apple Pencil, it looks like you really are drawing right on that canvas, instead of a screen that's covering the canvas, essentially. Again, not very noticeable, but nice to know that Apple's included it in this, and that they have for some time now in the Air. The big game changer here in the iPad Air is the addition of the M1 processor. You heard me right. It shocked me. I heard it a few hours ahead of time on a rumors site. Of course, you never know with rumors. You take them with a grain of salt, but I was shocked that somebody even mentioned it. Maybe it was the night before or earlier that morning, and they said, we think we have reliable information that the M1 is coming to the iPad Air. And sure enough, it is. So this is this incredible 8-core processor with 8-core graphics and a 16-core neural engine. It is, I think it clocks in at around 3.2 gigahertz, 3.1, something like that. I'm anxious to see when I do some benchmarks for you. We've already seen benchmarks, and it's not underclocked at all. It performs just like the iPad Pro version of the M1. It's the same chip. It's the same everything, and it includes 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, is this really necessary? No, it isn't. I'm very happy with my iPad 9th generation, which has an A13 Bionic. That's the other change they made from the 8th gen to the 9th gen. I forgot to tell you about a few minutes ago, and I apologize. They've increased the processor from A12 Bionic to A13 Bionic. Very, very happy with that processor. That is still a 6-core processor with quad-core graphics and an 8-core neural engine. It's more than enough for everything that I do, and I don't find myself waiting around complaining about lag or performance or anything. But, I use my devices a lot, and I think it's not the worst thing in the world to have a device with this incredible M1 and with the extra RAM. 3 gigs on the 9th gen, 8 gigs on the iPad Air. So I'm not going to complain about that. I think that's great. You get a lot of power, the least expensive device that you can possibly get now with an M1 processor, which is arguably the best processor in the world, second only to Apple's even higher-end processors like M1 Pro, Max, and Ultra, right? I mean, there's nothing in a consumer-level device that will ever touch this until, again, Apple will release M2, I'm sure, eventually, or whatever they're going to call it, and beyond. But, I mean, right now, this has stereo speakers in landscape, which is a nice thing, a nice addition. What else can I tell you about it? Well, it's gotten 5G, not millimeter wave 5G, but still 5G. Very excited to have a 5G iPad. We've got the rear camera is a 12 megapixel wide, and this is going to support a lot of great features. It's a very, very high-end camera. I don't believe there's flash in this camera, and it's if you have the recent iPhones, you're going to have maybe a slightly higher-end camera system, but this is really the best iPad camera unless you go up to the Pro, and it's a very, very solid offering. it will take video in 4K. And I actually think, one of my favorite YouTubers when it comes to technology mentioned, and check her out. It's iJustine. That's her name. I think I'm allowed to give shout outs there. I hope. Definitely check her out because she does a great job with tech, and she does incredible videos and does a real good, and has makes them a lot of fun too, informative and fun. So check out iJustine, folks. All right. She said she thinks that we ought to normalize iPad photography. And, I actually agree with that. I don't see why it's so silly in the first place, because people will get out their gigantic cameras if they're really pro photographers, and they'll pull out these giant lenses and all these other things that they'll add to their giant cameras, right? So what's the difference, carrying an iPad around? Now, I agree, if you've got a high-end iPhone in your pocket with a high-end camera, then sure, that's fine. And with iCloud and, all the ways we can transfer video, you don't need to take them on your iPad. You can take them on your phone. But I like the idea of iPad photography. I think it's kind of clever. And it is really nice for shooting video. You can shoot video in 4K on this iPad Air. The front-facing camera is, of course, now the 12-megapixel ultra-wide, 122, same thing as the 9th generation, which means it gets center stage. Very, very excited because the iPad Air was the very last holdout. It was the last iPad device not to have center stage. So glad to see that that's been added now, that there was a new update for it. Another feature of this is USB-C, which the Air had last year, or last release, but now it's twice as fast. So that's a nice improvement when you're trying to transfer data, when you're trying to work with files that happen to be on a USB-C device. And also, by the way, it allows you to now use your iPad Air with the Studio display that Apple just released, if you so choose. The iPad Air does not have a home button, of course, because, again, it's this all-screen sort of new design, industrial, some people call it, which, kind of started with the iPad Pros. And so there is no home button, but there is Touch ID. That is located in the power button, the top button. So I will experience it for the first time personally here in just a few hours. It's set to arrive, but I'm told that it's really good. It works well, and it's fast and everything. And yeah, you want to profile one finger from each hand at least, right? But I do that anyway, so that's not a big deal. Okay. Let's see. The iPad Air, I think I've covered all the new features, right? The faster USB-C, the M1, of course, with 8 gigs of RAM, the 5G connectivity, center stage upgrades, to the camera, front, all around upgrades to the front-facing camera. And then, of course, the 5 gorgeous colors that we've already discussed. There's a lot of accessories that this is compatible with, and I want to talk a little about that now. So I mentioned to you the Smart Folio, which is a marine blue that I got. There are other colors as well. Unlike the smart covers for the 9th generation iPad, the Smart Folio does protect the back of it, making something like the leather sleeve slightly less necessary. However, there is no Apple Pencil storage in your Smart Folio, as there is in a leather sleeve. There's none on the smart cover either, but if you can get your hands on some sort of leather sleeve, you might have Apple Pencil storage. Maybe that's because the Apple Pencil 2nd generation, which is supported on the iPad Air, magnetizes to the side of the iPad for charging. And that's how you connect it instead of through the port at the bottom. So maybe Apple feels that that's, it's not necessary to put any Apple Pencil storage on their covers and cases and folios and so forth. And I get it. I understand that. I'm not convinced. And I shared this in a review or a little video, an opinion video that I think we called it Stop Making Fun of the Apple Pencil 1st generation or 1st generation Apple Pencil. Be sure to visit our channel and check that out. But, I said in that video that I am not sure that I would trust the iPad magnetized, the pencil magnetized to the side of the iPad as a full-time carry around and storage solution for the Apple Pencil. And I still feel that way. And that is not a slam against Apple. It's not a slam against their magnets. It's not a slam against the iPad or the pencil. It's just, to me, look, that pencil is over $100. And I don't, I mean, man, I don't know, guys. I don't think so. If you're going to be using it again in an hour or so, yeah, maybe. But I think what I will do when I'm not actively using or charging my Apple Pencil second generation is keep it in a briefcase, because I also have briefcases for each of my iPads, and that's where I keep all the accessories, chargers, and other doodads. So, that is what I expect to do. I don't. That idea of the magnetizing to the side is great, and it's very convenient, and it serves a good purpose for when you want to charge, when you want to conveniently pair. Maybe some very light movement of the iPad, but I just don't see it as the way to go full time for storing and carrying around your Apple Pencil. Again, that's my opinion. So we'll see what happens, I guess, The other accessories, the Magic Keyboard I got in white. Now, oh, guys, what do I say about this Magic Keyboard? First of all, it's the best typing experience I have ever had on any device, ever in my life, okay? The Smart Keyboard that I have with my 8th generation iPad, is a very, very, very close second. I love the typing experience on that Smart Keyboard. I use it every day, and I love it. I really, really love it. It's very different from the typing experience on the Magic Keyboard, though. There'll be some people who probably love the one and dislike the other. I like them both. I think Apple's nailed it on both. The keys never feel flimsy. They never feel weak, unstable, or insignificant, and they're just very different from each design. But I've got to say, the Magic Keyboard, there is nothing like it. When you type on that keyboard, you will forget that it costs $300. You really will. And you will say, this is worth every penny of whatever I have to pay. The trackpad also adds a nice element to it, especially for those who can see. I've not really done much with it with VoiceOver. I'm not convinced that that's a fully fleshed out solution yet for a VoiceOver user, but you don't need it. You tap on screen and fine. Okay, but it's great. People who can see love the trackpad. My son loves using it. My mother uses it heavily. My daughter likes it. So it's a great trackpad, and it's a great keyboard. What's also nice about it is the way that it really does protect your iPad front and back, and the way that it does provide a good angle for you to use when typing, even if you're holding the iPad on your lap. It doesn't have to be on a table or a desk. Even on your lap, it's still fine. And it's got this floating design so that it floats above the iPad, floats above the keyboard, and you can tilt the screen, in a variety of ways, just enough to make it good for most everybody. The keyboard is backlit, and it automatically adjusts to the room's lighting, like the True Tone in the display, although now there has been a way to manually change the keyboard brightness in the settings app, and now in iPadOS 15.4, I'm told you can add keyboard brightness to your control center if you want to. So that's a nice thing, but basically it's going to do just fine for you. And then the other thing that this, again, like the Smart Keyboard, it does not charge. It does not have a battery. Is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't need to charge. It doesn't need pairing. It's a smart connector solution, and that's instant on and everything. And it has a pass-through charging port, which is really, really cool. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because it's positioned on the opposite side of the keyboard from where the actual iPad's charging port is. So what that means is, try to picture this if you will. If you're using an iPad with most of these keyboards, even non-Apple ones, right? Other brands that are, cases and keyboards, it typically falls to you to have your keyboard in landscape mode with the home button or the charge port to the right. When you do that, your charge port is on the right, and clearly that's fine if you are plugged in the right, and your wall outlet is there. But if you're using your iPad and it needs to be charged, and you still need to type actively, and you have your charger on the left, this is a problem, because now you're going to have a wire stretched across, and potentially you've got bends that you're putting in the cable and everything like that too. So this pass-through charging port being on the left-hand side has completely solved that problem. You can charge from either side. Now, the pass-through charging port is not a data port. You cannot connect your drives and stuff to that side, but you still can connect them to the other side. That also means technically you have given yourself two ports, because you could connect a data device to the charge port of the iPad and a charger to the pass-through port on the keyboard. So that's cool, right? That's a lot to be said for the fact that this has really, really been thought through very, very well, and is really a complete solution. I love this Magic Keyboard. So let me tell you the concerns that I have. I don't even want to call them downsides. I don't really like to say downsides with anything Apple, because Apple is amazing, and to me, they really have no downsides on their products and so forth, but services and everything, apps. But I as a tech guy and an honest reviewer, I want to be the most unbiased person you know. And I believe I am in a lot of ways, in life anyway. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I will never lie to you. And I have a couple small concerns. They're small. One is, for the vast majority of people, this Magic Keyboard, should you choose to purchase it with an iPad Air or an iPad Pro, cannot be the only case you use with your iPad, unless you're going to go with no case at all. Why do I say that? Because the angles are so limited. There's really only one way you can hold your iPad when this is in its Magic Keyboard solution. This keyboard is designed for when you are ready to do serious typing. It is not going to give you all the other benefits of an iPad. Yes, you can do everything in that position if you want to. And somebody said they're glad they put it's nice to have a brightness control, because maybe you want to turn down the backlight of the keyboard while you're watching a movie. I would not watch a movie with my iPad in this configuration. That does not make any sense to me. One of the beautiful things about the iPad, and one of the reasons I prefer the iPad to the Mac, is its ability to be anything you want it to be. And the accessories help to enable that. And so this Magic Keyboard is doing exactly what it's designed to do. But with something like a smart keyboard in the ninth generation, you can use that in a variety of other angles. There is a smart keyboard folio for the iPad Air and the iPad Pro, but I don't care for it as much, because the keyboard doesn't fold underneath like it does in the smart keyboard, and so your viewing angles are very limited there. There's really only two. So either way, that's what you're going to run across, okay? With the iPad 9th generation smart keyboard, yes, it's not going to have every angle that the plain smart cover has, which is why I still like those too, plus they're colorful, and the smart keyboard, for whatever reason, only comes in this sort of gray color. But it's still a little more flexible than some of the other devices, and really could be your only case if you so chose. With the Magic Keyboard, unless you are okay with using your iPad with no case at all, you're going to need something else. Because if you want to read a book at night and curl up, if you want to watch a movie or a TV show with that cup of coffee, read the news, and you are not going to want the iPad in the Magic Keyboard configuration. It is going to take away from the iPad experience. It's going to really detract from some of the beauty of the iPad. And so that's not faulting the Magic Keyboard. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm saying get a second case with it. And the only reason that's a concern, it's not a concern from a user standpoint, because I got to be honest with you, when I had the iPad Pro, popping it out of its Magic Keyboard and then popping it into a smart folio was so easy. It honestly took me longer of a time to grab my briefcase and open the zipper to pull the other case out of it. then to make the exchange, to make the swap. You can probably do it in 5 to 10 seconds. It's not a painful process at all. And in that regard, yeah, I can't say anything negative. So why it's a concern is for people who might be concerned about their budget. Praise God, I don't have to worry about that. But part of what we always look at with these iPads, though it's a small part for me, admittedly, but I still look at it as I'm reviewing them, is the point of entry into the entire ecosystem and the entire experience. And when you have people out there touting the Chromebooks, look, Chromebook, and don't get me wrong, as I mentioned here many times, I want to be the least biased person you know. I love some Google products. I got Nest devices all over my home now. You'll hear about that in the smart home video and in the Google review video. All around our house, we've got different Google devices. I love Google. They do a great job. They are my search engine of choice too. Okay, I don't like their Chromebooks. Simple as that. I don't like Android. I mean, some of their stuff that I'm using is probably Android powered, but I don't like it in a tablet, a phone, or a TV. They haven't done as well. It's not as secure. It's not as good. Apps, I mean, we did a whole video on why a Chromebook is not as good as an iPad, or why an iPad is better than a Chromebook, right? I don't like Chromebooks, okay? They're not good at anything. They're average at some things and unusable for others, okay? But you have people touting these Chromebooks because they've got a built-in keyboard. And if you're trying to promote that to a school or something like that, to say to them, hey, you can get a Chromebook for $300, you can get an iPad for $300, but then you got to add a keyboard and potentially other things. So that's not so bad when the keyboard costs $159, like the Smart keyboard for the 9th generation iPad. Some people might still, raise an eyebrow over $159, but it's not so bad compared to $300. Now, again, don't get me wrong. The Magic Keyboard is worth every penny of that $300 and probably more. But again, when I'm reviewing it for the whole package, being completely unbiased, and I'm looking at point of entry, there are customers who that's no problem for that I have. And I've had customers buy, top of the line iPad Pros and all the accessories with it, and they don't bat an eyelash at it, and that's fine. That's their business. But I also have some customers that I know, even when I talk about a 9th generation iPad, and I say, well, you might not be okay with 64 gigs, so we might need to go up to 256, and I think you should get cellular because in case you want to have it, and it's that always connected option. And I am, I feel very, very strongly about that. Of course, I have customers who choose not to do that, and that's their prerogative. I don't force them. It's their business. It's their choice. It's personal preference. But I feel very, very strongly about that, and I really do try to encourage it. So I've already gotten them up to, over $500, closer to, well, I guess it's over $600 with the iPad 9th gen top of the line model. And I have to say, okay, if you want to do some serious typing, you're going to need the Smart Keyboard. That's another $159. You can almost hear them tensing up, but they'll usually do it. But now the point of entry for the iPad Air is $599. $899 maximum specs, the one I got, the 256 with Wi-Fi plus cellular. So now if I say to you, on top of the $899, you need to spend another $300. And on top of the $300, you really need to spend another $79 because you're going to want that Smartfolio, because I don't want you to miss out on the best things the iPad has to offer, but I also don't want you to have your iPad unprotected while you're enjoying those experiences. So you are now basically spending $400, and that's on top of your, iPad purchase price. Again, please do not misunderstand me. It's worth it. And there are plenty of people for whom that's not an issue at all. For me, it wasn't an issue at all. Praise God. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to worry about that. I'm blessed to be able to just, I looked at this. I want the iPad Air. Which keyboard do I want? Do I want the Smart Keyboard Folio? No, I want the Magic Keyboard. Put it in the cart, buy it. Not an issue. But that's not the case for everybody. And I get that. And so my concern revolves around that. Depending on who you're going to recommend this to. It doesn't mean don't buy. Doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't detract from the total number of stars. It's still a 5-star product, or 10 if you're doing 10 out of 10, 10 star. It's still every bit as good as all that. But it's something that should guide your purchasing decisions or your recommendation decisions if you have family members, friends, or coworkers, or if you're trying to buy for a business or a school district or something where bottom line is the issue. Don't make the mistake of going with a Chromebook just because the iPad Air is going to end up costing you $1,000. Go with the iPad 9th generation, right? And then at least you'll be using a good tablet, and then just, get that keyboard. It's a little less. So I do really, that is an important thing that I do think you should be aware of, right? Because it does influence things a bit. And also, by the way, the Apple Pencil is a little more pricey too. It's $129 instead of $99. Now, all these prices that I'm quoting you are before any discounts, and it is possible to find these with discounts. And if you are a teacher, or if you have, a student, if you are a student, if you homeschool, if you, there are discounts, education discount. Apple has its education discounts, right, for teachers and students, and you can, definitely take advantage of that. It takes a little bit off. It brings the iPad Air fully spec'd out to $849 instead of $899. As of the recording of this, I mean, then, these things can change. It brings the Magic Keyboard down to oh boy, is it $349 or $379? I forget. And it brings the Apple Pencil down a little bit too. I don't think it takes anything off of the Smart Folio, if I remember right. So, again, this is just all stuff to keep in mind. And it's one of the reasons that I still feel that the iPad 9th generation is the best overall bang for your buck of any iPad. And the iPad that I would still continue to recommend for probably 99% of people. But there's something special to be said about this iPad Air. And the fact that they've put M1 into something that starts at $600, $599. The iPad Air has always sort of been a middle-of-the-road device for my taste, and it's never yet made it into one of our holiday gift guides. Always being beat out by the Pro or the 10.2-inch iPad. Stay tuned this year, because things might change, okay? There is a lot to be said for what you are getting for the price that you're paying. I don't fall for this nonsense about an Apple tax or anything like that. I totally disagree with it. If anything, Apple is undercharging for the value you get at the hardware, software, and services that they offer, the quality that they deliver, and the service that goes with it. Not to mention, if there were an Apple tax, so-called, you wouldn't see $329 iPads that could do everything that the iPad Pro can do, right? They'd chintz in some way, but they don't. All right, so there's a lot to be said. So with all this ranting I'm doing about the cost of the accessories, please understand they're worth every bit of it, okay, and more. And so there is definitely something to be said, because this still brings it way down. So to get the same iPad Pro with the 256 Wi-Fi plus cellular, you're going to be spending, I guess it would be $11.99 or maybe $10.99. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but it would be over $1,000. And that's not to go up to the big 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which again, for my taste, just more than was necessary, right? Just too big. So, the fact that the iPad Air has all the same power, performance, RAM, basically the same display. Again, there's a few little things. It doesn't have ProMotion, which is that variable refresh rate of up to 120 hertz. But, again, that's not something most people are going to even be concerned about. There are a few who are, and those are those folks who probably won't have a problem spending the money on an iPad Pro along with its accessories. So, again, the only reason I even brought up all of that is because you need to keep it in mind when you're looking at this as a whole package solution. And I do think a lot of customers who really, in spite of everything that I've said, still feel like they need an iPad Pro may actually now be willing to consider the iPad Air, since it's got the exact same processor, right? That is incredible. It's just amazing to me that Apple has done that. And I think amazing in a really, really good way. So I will be getting my hands on it, and I will be sharing with you what the results are. And we'll look forward to that. But that has been, for today, our TTJ Tech Show. Now remember, if you would like your questions to potentially be answered live on the air, send us an email to techshow@ttjtech.net. If you have other questions, send them to info@ttjtech.net or support@ttjtech.net. We also want to remind you one more time to please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Leave a comment if you'd like to. And God bless you, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time here at
TTJ Tech.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.